Hello. Our next machine that we are going to learn about is the bandsaw. The purpose of the bandsaw is to cut irregular shapes into your wood, radiuses, circles, different things like that. One thing to always remember about whenever you use the bandsaw is that you need to have two flat surfaces whenever you cut. The next thing before operating the bandsaw, to just give you a little bit of knowledge about it, it is a continuous band that is welded together that travels on two wheels, and it will be cutting in the down stroke, so it will keep it on the table for you. The next thing that you need to know is you have your on-off switch. Pull it out to turn it on, push it back in to turn it off. And the last thing that I want you to know is the upper saw guide. The upper saw guide is the height that you want to set to expose the blade when you are cutting your material. So if I was going to cut this piece of wood, I would take my upper saw guide, take this knob, loosen it up, raise my upper saw guide so I can set my piece of wood up against the blade. Needless to say, the machine is off. And then I can set my upper saw guide, if I would like, just right on top of my index finger, because I need to have about 1/4 of an inch. And so then it is safe to cut and to operate. One thing to always remember is you want to set it like that. If I was to do something like this and make my cut, you need to remember that a bandsaw is the same machine that is used to cut your baby back ribs, and it won't have a problem cutting your fingers, because that would be just like cutting ribs and things like that that a butcher does. So, like I said, set your upper saw guide so that it is about 1/4 of an inch above your material. Snug the knob back up. And then now, one of the things that you need to remember on the bandsaw is you need to plan your sawing procedure. And what I mean by that is when you plan your sawing procedure, you want a maximum forward feed with a minimum of backing out. If you have a long cut and you're all the way down here and you try and back out of it with the machine on, what's likely going to happen is you're either going to break the blade or you're going to pull the blade off of those wheels that it is tracked on. And then we're going to have a problem and we're going to have to shut the machine down. So whenever you plan your sawing procedure, the other thing that you want to remember is wherever that pencil line is that you have drawn, you want to cut just on the outside of that line, so then you can go to the next two machines that you're going to learn about, the disc sander and the oscillating spindle sander, and you will sand then to your pencil lines to finish cleaning it all up, getting rid of the machine marks and things like that. Now, for instruction purposes only, I am going to use this green pen to show you a line that I'm just going to cut. Always remember with wood and in this class that you will never use pen, you will always use pencil. This is just so that you guys can see what I am going to do. But if I am going to cut on that line, or just on the outside of that line, so then I can sand to it. Remember, once again, don't use pen. It's a liquid, wood is porous, and it will just absorb it, and then you will sand, and still have to sand some more, and you don't want to have to do that. So now I'm ready to make my cut on the machine. I have my upper saw guide all set up. I take the button, pull the button out to turn it on, and then I can start on my sawing procedure. Maximum forward with just a minimum backing out to stay right on the outside of my pencil line. Now if I get into my cut too far and I'm afraid to back out because I've gone in quite a ways and I don't want to break it or turn it off, turn the machine off, let the blade come to a dead stop, and when the blade comes to a dead stop, then you can go about trying to back out of the cut. If you notice that your blade is getting hung up on your piece of wood, go and get your instructor and have them help you pull it out, so then you're not going to have to worry about snapping the blade or pulling it off of the wheels. And then you can just slowly get yourself out of your cut so that you can finish cutting whatever project part or whatever you may be doing. Another thing to remember whenever you use the bandsaw, and once again we're just using the pen for instructional purposes, if I was to cut something like that out, I have to cut that out for a project that we're going to make. We're making a telescope stand. We're doing something like that. One of the things that you always have to remember is if I try and make that cut with the bandsaw, I'm probably going to break the blade. Something that you also want to remember about the bandsaw is this: the narrower the blade is, the smaller of a radius or diameter that you can cut. The wider the blade is, the larger it is from front to back, the larger the radius has to be of what you're going to cut. And if I am going to cut something like this U shape right here, one of the things that I need to do is make relief cuts. And what I mean by that is I am going to make a series of cuts that are going to be, they can be anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch apart. And I am going to bring those, and these just represent my saw cuts, and I'm going to go so that I'm about, a strong 1/16, 1/8 of an inch away from my line, and so then I can sand to my line. And if you make these relief cuts at least halfway, then you're going to have all that material is going to break off, and then you're just going to be able to finish your cut without putting any stress or anything onto your blade that might cause it to break or come off the tracks. So now I'm going to go through and make these cuts. These type of cuts, you can go in and then just back right out. Just take your time as you do them. There's no need to be in a hurry. Now that I have made my relief cuts, now I can go back here and slowly start making my cut to cut that out. Make sure that you plan your sawing procedure to get your hand out of the way as you're finishing your cut. And then you go through, finish your cut, turn the machine off, let the blade come to a complete dead stop before you begin moving any of the excess material out of the way. And then now that that is done, I can move this out of the way, clean up my work area, return my upper saw guide back down to the bottom so that it is set for somebody else to have to set up, so that nobody injures themselves and everybody has to do their own proper setup on the machine. And that is a safe and accurate way to use the bandsaw. And always remember, clean up after yourself. Boom.